What is up, everybody? It's me, Duke Farley, back at it again here on Lost at Sea. And tonight I am unfortunately joined by the third person eliminated from this season of Ascendance Live, season 4. I'm here with Chris Yu. Chris Yu, how are you? How are you doing?
It's always like the use, right? It always just kind of rolls off the tongue. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just chilling on a cold Sunday night, hence the turtleneck. But yeah, doing pretty well. What about you?
I'm doing well, doing the same thing as you, except for without the turtleneck. But I am so excited that you took the time out of your evening to kind of talk about this latest experience you had in Ascendance. Chris, I wanted to start off with, how your boot episode, was there anything that you saw that was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense? Like anything that, you know, was like you didn't see it in the time when you were playing the game?
It's funny because like that very first question. Um, so admittedly, I haven't seen my boot episode yet.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
um,
jeez.
only just because like I've been busy doing other stuff. And so but I've been getting obviously like messages from my friends, from all the supporters and fans. They were like, so bummed that you're out of the game, stuff like that. And I was like, all right, I forgot this was the week
Yeah.
that like I just never got around to it. But if I had to kind of guess, because I think like I know where I kind of like fell short,
Mhm.
as to what kind of like led to my vote out. Um, I think it was just because like I really just didn't put in much of the time and effort to really connect with the people in the cast, and so I think it was just like some other people just scrambled more, talked more, made some deals more before I got to those points. And when you are kind of like on the chopping block and you're asking for people to kind of like save you when they've already kind of like committed to other people and working with them, it feels a little bit more difficult, and like you kind of feel a little bit hopeless, if you will, just because like that just because like that yeah, you were just kind of like too little too late at that point, and you were pretty much kind of like a dead fish in the water, if you will.
Yeah. Kind of a tough, break shakeout of the format of the game. We've never seen this where, we have two teams picked and four teams divided into, then half the people are safe that are attending, then and half are not. Um, so you were kind of dealt a hand where there were only four options, but there were 10 people voting, and you were one of the options. So I know that in the beginning of the strategizing portion, you were leaning towards, working with, you didn't want to vote out Eric. You kind of wanted to go for, I think, Grace at that point. Um, what, why not go for Eric early on? You kind of just because of the connection you had with him?
Yeah, so I pretty much kind of like hit it off with Eric, and personally, again, like I think I even said it in my confessionals too in the early parts of the game, that because it was just down to like me, Eric, Grace, and Josh who were vulnerable there. Josh was already kind of like somebody that I recognized from the past season that I wanted to work with. So I was like, I'm not gonna go against Josh because I actually want to work with him.
Right.
And even like with Eric at that point, because we were actually, yeah, we were connecting in the game. I wanted to work with him. And obviously, like with like the past round, where I was also kind of like grouped with Michael, who was also his partner. Like I really didn't want to kind of like burn those bridges with him by voting out Eric, and so it really was that direction where we three really wanted to kind of work together, and that's why like I remember having that conversation with Eric in the laundry room, where we were like, okay, let's do this. Let's just take out Grace. Although there are like lots of like complications that probably I kind of had like a feeling, but also something that I kind of like learned on the day of like my vote out, where it was like, Grace isn't really like the best option to push for, knowing that I didn't realize that there was like that whole talk of like, like keeping the girls in. So, obviously Grace was like one of those people, but also there were conversations of like, hey, we take Grace out, you're pissing off Billy, who is a huge force, a strong personality. And so there were people who were kind of pushing back on that whole Grace vote because of those reasons. And so that was already kind of like a tough sell to begin with. And again, it just became like, and nobody wanted to do the same for Josh because he was also kind of like that same um personality where again he was a returnee, so there were people really backing him up. Aaron was also backing him up too, really campaigning for him, and so it really just came down to like me and Eric by default there. um yeah, like it sucked because I know that even Eric was like, when we were talking to like leading up to the vote, like on the day itself, we were like, yeah, I guess it's just down to the two of us. But it was just like we really had no choice. We were so reluctant to do that because we really wanted to work together.
Yeah.
The other thing too was that, yeah, that whole twist where they split us up into four. The thing is like we were so good with Christopher and I were so good with Rachel and Erica, so we knew that like when Erica kind of like picked those teams, we because we all felt good about each other. So we were like, okay, like I know Erica's kind of like throwing us a bone over here, and then they put us with that whole freaking twist where damn, it just happened that we lost, so we were the four people vulnerable. Because otherwise, that four of us would have been a great um alliance. So it just like it sucks.
Yeah, it sucked. It's something that Ascendance has not done so far, so kind of a bummer that it happens here for you. I wanted to ask you, Chris, there's obviously been a pattern of newer people going home, new to the game of Ascendance, not returnees going home, and you follow this pattern, it being the third person eliminated. And you mentioned, not wanting to go after Josh because you wanted to work with Josh. But was that something that came up during this vote at all? You know, all these newbies being eliminated, and maybe we want to do a veteran, or did that ever cross your mind at all?
Oh, absolutely. I think it has been like a conversation that's been brewing amongst the cast, even like when the game started. Like there was this whole like, okay, there's like the newbies, there's the returnees. But at that point where it was like I was trying to look past that, like those lines, because like for me personally, it was more so like, okay, I've seen some of the gameplay of these people. Some of those I actually personally connect with, and some of those, like my gameplay just kind of like aligns with their gameplay. Hence, like I really wanted to work with Josh because like his villainous ways, I'm pretty much the same too if I had like more time, and I really needed him because I feel like he could probably help me. He would help carry me further in the game, and then I can actually unleash like my full potential and playing these games. Um, but yeah, it definitely was a talking point at some point, but with all of the mixture and interactions between like the returnees and the newbies, like there were more um I'd say there were more collaborations with them. So it was like it had to be a different criteria for who we were gonna vote out, because like the whole returnees thing wasn't really so much of a huge deal, or it wasn't so much of a negative thing, if you will.
Okay, yeah, understood. Um, Now, Chris, I know you said that you did not watch your boot episode here just yet, but something that I wanted to ask you about throughout the episode, it seemed as if you were in an okay position before your partner Christopher started to kind of campaign for you to stay. And there's many confessionals throughout this episode where the players that are a part of your build are like, Christopher is pushing really hard for Chris you to stay, and it kind of worked in the opposite way that he probably intended. Um, kind of knowing just me telling you that, is that something surprising to you, or have you been told that since?
I have actually been told that, and in my head I'm like, I I don't blame Christopher, but also like, damn, like maybe it was more so like I kind of like I see the I see people's like rationale as to why that would kind of like turn them off, because it's basically saying like, Chris, you can't speak for himself. Why can't he just like campaign? If he's the one on the chopping block, not you, why are you doing the talking kind of thing? But I do remember having a conversation with Christopher. Obviously, we were kind of like, um, because he was the veteran and I was like the newbie. So obviously, like um, there was that kind of like concern or need for him to kind of like put me under his wing and like take care of me and stuff like that. So obviously, like when we were obviously a team, and so when I was in danger, Christopher just like has that natural like concern and care for me, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna help you as much as I can as well. I'm gonna try to talk to these people. And again, I just probably, if I put in the same amount of effort that Christopher did, then maybe it would have worked out actually well. Because I just think that it just came off as that Christopher was the only one doing much of the whole campaigning to all of those people, and I really wasn't talking as much to them. And that's why it made me realize that I'm like, well, shit, like I need to be more assertive. I need to really like put in all of that effort. I need to be doing what Christopher is doing. So at least these people know that me and Christopher are willing to work with them, are willing to fight for a spot, are really willing to like win this game. And so I could see why some of these people were kind of like taken aback with how Christopher was like just like campaigning for them, for me, and like then that I was just kind of like, yeah, kind of thing. But it also feels a little bit reassuring too, knowing that there were actually some people, some of those people who voted, kind of like low key really wanted to save me, and it just
Yeah.
happened that it was like the numbers just weren't there. And the other Chris just really wanted me out, and I love Chris. Don't worry, I love Chris too. But it's like Chris was like, there can only be one Chris. Blah, blah, blah. It was just that whole
Yeah.
thing. So
Well, there still are two Chris's, so he still has to fight through that. But I wanted to ask you, you kind of are leading me into my next question, and there were people that wanted to save you, even, throughout the whole obstacle of Christopher with a K, kind of, whether he wanted, like, he was trying his best, obviously. I'm not saying that it was the wrong thing to do, but it kind of worked in an opposite way. But there were people that wanted to save you. What do you think ultimately it was, you versus Eric? Do you think Chris G had a huge, was the huge factor in this vote?
yeah, yeah, I think like he was. I remember I remember there was a time like the night before the vote out when we were doing the whole overnight video thing, where Eric actually, I saw Eric and Chris G going to us, going somewhere to talk. So in my head, I was kind of like setting like it was setting alarms for me where it's like, because I had that same thing. I was like, damn, I was planning on like pulling Chris G aside to like start campaigning and start pulling a deal with him, but I just got beaten by Eric. He was, yeah, he beat me to it basically. Um, and then I think it was like hours before we voted, where it was just like most of us in one room, and I think Billy was there too, where he had that whole like, fuck it, like let's just like flip and vote Eric here. He was really also like sticking his neck out for me, which I honestly appreciated, because like at that point, people already like, I think I'm pretty sure Billy already knew I was also throwing Grace's name out there. So for him to like actually now campaign to save me, um, I truly appreciated that. And again, and when that conversation happened, I think I remember, yeah, Christopher was there, Chris G was there, Erica, Rachel, Taisha were there. Um, yeah, and Chrissy was just like, yeah, but like I just feel like blah 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 blah. Um, at that point, I think like Christy already had this mindset, and like most of the people just really didn't want to like rock the boat there. And obviously, from what I from what I know, like since like Erica and Rachel were captains, they also didn't want to like draw the line and stuff like that. So they were just really willing to go with like whatever the others were going because they didn't want to kind of like rock the boat there either. So I understood why they had to vote for me there. I just like I appreciate the sentiment that, you know, it wasn't because that they were like dead set on voting for me. It was more so like a reluctant like, yeah, it's just like that. And it is what it is. And I, again, like I have no hard feelings with any of them. I truly love all of them, but yeah. Christy!
Yeah, you truly love all of them. On your exit, on the way out of the game, before you give everybody a hug goodbye, you you quoted somebody. You said, the F you, F you, F you, you're cool. Who were you quoting? Who was that?
See, maybe that's why I need to see the episode. Yeah, I think that's why I was curious to see like how much of my exit speech was gonna make the edit.
All of it.
Um, all of oh thank God. Okay, I need to watch that because like I forgot what I said there, but it was basically a monologue. But um, it was actually a quote from Drag Race. Because there was
Okay.
that scene of like fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and I wanted to end it on like a funny and lighter note because I think like that's when I really like realized I was like shit like I really should have like pushed more of my personality. I know that, you know, I'm like I have like also like a really great and vibrant personality. I can also hang with the Chris G's and the Rachels and the Christophers and all of those big personalities. It's just that like when you're in that real life setting, like I am like a little bit more reserved in real life. I'm more introverted. I think I said that also in my speech too. And that like one of my conversations the night before actually was also with Josh, and we were really like connecting about being introverts and playing LRGs. And he was someone who told me that, yeah, it's kind of like playing LRGs is kind of like an introvert's nightmare because, you know, you get all of those anxiety. You have to kind of push yourself to do all of that. That's when it made me realize where I really fell short, where it's like, well, shit, yeah, you really have to bring out a lot of yourself, even if it makes you feel uneasy, it makes you feel uncomfortable. Like that's the whole point of playing these games. Like it pushes you to your limit and really kind of like, you know, brings out a lot of your personality as well. And so like I really wanted to end it on that great note because like, you know what? Like if I had my time cut short, I at least want to be remembered by the exit speech and stuff like that. And so I wouldn't say a spoiler, but like we had like this impromptu like awards that like Rachel and Christy came up and hey, they gave me best exit speech thus far.
There you go.
So
There you go. I think it will be remembered. Chris, is there anything else that you want to talk about regarding your game that maybe wasn't shown? I know you didn't see the first your last episode, but in the season so far up to this point, was there anything that maybe you wish made the cut that didn't? I don't know.
uh well, I wish that was like the episode before. It was like, damn, I wish they showed more of like how much I flopped that whole balloon challenge. Because that was like one of like my funny moments too. I was really just going for like me having fun. I consider it like my clown edit, my clown era, but yeah, because like if I can share that whole like secret like tidbit or behind the scene of like, yeah, I didn't know how to tie a balloon. So the first 3 rounds there during that challenge, it was like nothing. I wasn't able to like give people balloons until like I was like Aaron was beside me, and Aaron was like, "Hey, you should do this and that." And when she taught me, I was like, "Thank you, Aaron, thank you." And then I was able to start tying. But I wasn't really good at blowing the balloons either, so they were just like really small balloons. Little did I know it actually paid off in the long run because like people were having a hard time carrying the smaller balloons. And I was just like telling the people, it's like, I'm giving you a small balloon because like I don't want to give you a hard time. So I was kind of like doing that whole social
Ah,
thing. It's like because I don't want them to start targeting Christopher. Because I think like Christopher did that challenge before too, and that's when that was I think that was their he I think I remember that was the round he got voted off, and that was the challenge. And so he kind of learned like, oh, this is what you do, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, let me make sure that people don't give Christopher a lot of like balloons and stuff like that. So that's why I was like, I was rotating amongst all of the teams, and then I would tell them like, I'm only giving you a small balloon because I don't want you to have a hard time. And they actually appreciated it. And then it's like I think there was just like there were several rounds that nobody was giving our team a balloon. So it actually paid off until it got annoying in the long run. They were carrying so much, and the little balloons were annoying them. So I was like, well, I can only blow those little balloons, and I only learned tying how to tie the balloon during the challenge. So what can you do? I also do want to say, again, like I wish that I was able to show more about of my gameplay with that little time. And again, like the first two rounds, I was safe. So it's like I didn't, there wasn't that push or like need or urgency for me to like, I need to scramble. I need to really start making deals and stuff like that. And so it was just me passively just like connecting with people. It was like, oh, I like you. We'll work together kind of thing. It was only until that round where it's like, but then I don't know. Part of me also kind of felt that again, like because like I was connecting with like people there, I thought at first I was like in a great spot because again, like okay, me, Eric, and Josh were like, okay, let's take out great. So there was a plan already. I thought that was gonna be the plan until when I started talking to other people, started talking to Taisha. Taisha was I could sense from Taisha that she was like pushing back on it, and I was like, something tells me that why is Eric telling me that people are throwing Grace's name in my name? But when I spoke to them, they said they've never heard Grace's name. So that's when it was starting to set like alarm bells in my head. I was like, is Eric just like making up this lie to me? So I started to also kind of like slowly deflect that and say like Eric's telling me this. Eric's like making up this like stuff, blah blah blah. But yeah, like it because like my whole gameplay is all social. I suck at challenges clearly, but um I really tend to play a little bit more cutthroat. That's why like people I mean when I play orcs, I tend to be the villain of the season and stuff like that. That's why I connected so much with Josh because I really wanted to like have all of the villains come together. And so like I just wish like if I lasted longer in the game that that side of me would have just been featured more because I would have brought up that gameplay more.
Yeah. Well, Krishu, there's always another opportunity to play. So never say never. Expect the
Mhm.
unexpected. All of those good, lines. But my last question for you is, what was your favorite part of the entire experience? Like, it could be the game itself. It could be one of the parts of the game. It could be, the shenanigans afterwards, if that's what you liked.
Yeah, so it's well the balloon thing was one, but also just like bonding with some of the people during the game and um outside of the game. I think I just like enjoyed being able to experience like this whole like um strategy social game in a live setting. Again, like I've never done this thing before, so this is like my very first LRG. And so the entire experience in itself, like even if my time in the game was pretty short, it was still like very rewarding and fulfilling nonetheless. And I would definitely do it again. I would love to do this whole experience again. And again, just like the cast itself was just like very nice. We still keep in touch even up to now. Like our group chat is still like buzzing every single day. And so it's always nice to see their wonderful faces each and every day because it just feels as if like, that game felt like it was just like forever ago, but it also doesn't feel like that game hasn't ended because like I just like still feel connected with all of them. And that's why oh, yeah. If you maybe like oh shit, I know you're not asking this, but like I'll share you this. So like after this game, I actually ended up like playing Michael Davis's game called 1984, which
Yep.
I played, and I was also playing that with Alex. I played that with Aaron, and so obviously like Michael and Taisha were also on the prod team for it. Um,
Okay.
in which I was actually third place there.
There you go.
So so it was like that whole like after that whole Ascendance thing was like okay, I had like that whole experience. And again, I never would have gotten that experience if I didn't meet Michael in Ascendance. And so like there was just like a lot of great things that came out from playing Ascendance. And again, like I'm just like really grateful about the entire experience and with the cast.
Well, Krishu, I am so glad to hear that. And I'm so glad to, have the opportunity to talk to you this evening. It's been great, hearing your side of the story of all the good stuff. And yeah, I just hope maybe down the line we can chat again.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you so much again, Duke, for taking the time to speak with me.